throughout the week. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has activated 3,000 military personnel. Emergency crews are being dispatched by land, water, and air. It is a frantic race in some places to get to residents who are trapped in their homes, some of them trying to make their way to their rooftops. At least 1,000 people already rescued overnight, and when asked just how many have been saved since this emergency began, one official said it is impossible to know because they've been happening so fast.
We've been waiting for the Coast Guard helicopter. It picked up some of our neighbors. Some of our neighbors are still back there on the rooftops. We saw the boat come by first, and we took the first chance we could get out of there.
Authorities confirm at least 2 people killed in this storm. A major hospital is now evacuating, and commercial flights in and out of Houston's 2 main airports have been halted. We have reporters covering every angle of this fast-moving story, from Houston to Galveston to the CNN Weather Center. I want to first start with Ed Lavendera, who is on a boat near Dickinson, Texas. That's between Houston and Galveston. Ed, you have been talking to some really brave people and showing some incredible pictures. What's the latest?
Hi, Anna. Well, this is our first chance to really get into some of these neighborhoods that have been hardest hit by these floodwaters to get a sense of how dramatic this scene is. This is a neighborhood called Bayou Chantilly, which is just off of Interstate 45 in the town of Dickinson, Texas. And you can just see how devastating the floodwaters here have been. We are on a boat that a man by the name of Austin Seth, who lives in Lake Jackson, Texas, and he had come up here earlier in the day. He's rescued about a dozen people, and he was doing one last pass through this neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that throughout most of the last few hours, many people have been coming in here and getting as many people out as possible. If you can focus in on this home right here in front of you, take a look at the roof. You can see the axe and the hole that was chopped out of the roof and of this home so that people could escape the floodwaters here. That is, one of the scenes that we've seen here in this neighborhood. That is eerily quiet at this point, as many volunteers, mostly bringing their flat-bottom boats, have come in here to pull hundreds of people out of this particular neighborhood, and those efforts continue. You might be able to hear here in a second a Coast Guard helicopter flying over us, and you can just see it here over the horizon, working one of the subdivisions next to us. But this is just devastating as we go through here. A lot of this water, in some places, up to the rooftop of some home. This particular part of the subdivision, probably in about 5 to 6 feet of water. And what is striking is in the number of people that I've spoken to who have been taken out of this neighborhood here throughout the day, Anna, is that they went to bed last night and this area was dry. They suspected that they were going to be on relatively high ground and would be able to make it through the worst of this storm. And they wake up to this devastating scene and frantically trying to get themselves out of these neighborhoods. So this is, what we keep hearing repeatedly is that even though they knew, and many people here in the city knew, that these floodwaters were going to be very devastating, but that there are parts of Houston that nobody expected to flood, nobody ever could have anticipated ever flooding, and they find themselves under 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 feet of water. So it is really unbelievable to see. And what is also striking, Anna, as we drive along some of these homes, you can tell that people drove and parked their cars as close to their homes as possible so that they could use their cars as ladders to get up on top of the rooftops to get to higher and safer ground. But no matter where you look, after you're here, Old Bayou and Old Castle Lane, these homes completely underwater. Most of the cars, some of these, there are cars underneath a lot of, how you doing over there? Do you live there? You've already arrived. Good news. You guys okay?
All right. So, we'll be back by this direction in a second. If you need anything, let us know.
So you can see that was a general. I don't know if you can make that out on it, but
we're just looting.
Said that they had evacuated a little while earlier. They were coming back to try to get a few things. As we float by a lot of these homes, and you can see in through the windows, you can see
and the speed limit sign right there. I mean, that shows just how high the water is. And I am so Unable to even say anything. I can't get over the images that you were showing us and what these people must be having going through their minds right now. For somebody like me to be sitting so far away to have this kind of a reaction, I just can't get over this. I'm curious, Eddie, who are you with exactly? Are you with the rescuers who are going door to door?
You might have heard his voice there. It's like an Austin Seth. He's a student in Galveston, and Texas A&M Galveston. He's a student. He lives about an hour away in Lake Jackson. He had heard the call that they needed folks with small, flat-bottom boats that could navigate these kinds of areas. You need a boat that won't necessarily get stuck on things that are underneath the water. So these types of boats are perfect for these kinds of rescues. So he drove himself up here. I met him several hours ago, and he's pulled about a dozen people out of this neighborhood. He was making one last pass to make sure that there wasn't anybody else left in this particular neighborhood. But this is just one of, I can't stress this enough, on hundreds of people that we've seen here throughout the day who literally driven up Interstate 45 and used it as a boat launch. And this is just one of hundreds of boats that are out on the water here in South Houston. And this is just one particular neighborhood where this is unfolding. This is happening all across the city here this afternoon.
We're still seeing so many cars in driveways there, Ed. Talk about how quickly the water came up.
Well, incredibly quickly. You know, people, as I was mentioning I think earlier, that people went to bed thinking that this was going to be, I talked with one resident, oh, look at here. People who you park their car very close up to the, look, right here, Joel, if you can point down, there's a car. You can see the car just underneath the water there. So you might not see anything, but there are cars underneath here.
Yeah,
and you can see what people have done to kind of get themselves. They use these towels as a way to get themselves off of that steep ledge of that roof and onto the rooftop of the car, probably when they were rescued earlier. If you look into some of these windows, you can see furniture and furnishings inside the home, essentially just floating around in the living rooms and in the bedrooms of this community. So this is a devastating loss. We have not heard of any injuries or deaths that have taken place here in this particular neighborhood. Still trying to get that information. All of this is so incredibly fast moving and still developing that it's really hard to kind of get a handle on all of that. But I've spoken with a number of people who have been carrying out these kind of makeshift rescue missions to pull people out, and I haven't heard of any serious injuries or anyone particularly injured or lost in these floodwaters. So far for this particular neighborhood that we've been able to report on, that is the good news. Here, look back over this way. You can see a ladder that someone had put outside of their driveway. They used that to get up on top of the roof and onto higher ground. We've seen that a number of times as we've floated through this neighborhood as well. And you just keep seeing cars, even though you can see a lot of the cars that are partially submerged, but I can't tell you that there are still a number of cars that are underneath the water. In fact, Austin was telling us that he had run aground of one on his previous trip through here and got stuck on top of it. So this is
Wow.
all just a devastating loss. And again, as you mentioned in your question, Anna, just how quickly people woke up in the middle of the night to tornado warnings. Spoke with one woman earlier. I forgot about this poor woman who said she was on her rooftop and they started hearing, oh, there's a gentleman there. Sir, do you need help? You're good?
You know of anybody back here that needs any help? Okay.
So you heard that. He said that's another gentleman who came back, tried to salvage some things if he could. And try
How do people even get back into this neighborhood, Ed?
How do they get back in? Where do they
Do you have to get there by
them have
boat?
their
How
own
did you
boats.
make it in?
We literally floated in on a boat off of Interstate 45. You can't even wrap your head around that. An interstate that is usually packed with car traffic, and it is being used as a boat launch this afternoon into these neighborhoods. It's unimaginable.
You're there in Dickinson, Texas. Was there any kind of evacuation order that went out?
Well, there wasn't any kind of mandatory evacuation order. In fact, officials here have been urging a lot of people to stay home. In this particular neighborhood, I've asked several people about those evacuation orders, and what I've heard repeatedly from this particular area is that people thought they had neighbors, people who've lived in this neighborhood, I'm told, have been here for generations, and that they have never been worried about flooding, that it's always withstood the tropical storms that this particular area has seen. So they felt confident that even though this was a monster storm, they felt very confident they would be able to make it through. And they woke up this morning to not just the news, they woke up and literally put their feet out of bed into knee-high water, and it kept rising. So incredibly dramatic, incredibly stressful for many people. At one point throughout the night, one woman we spoke with earlier talked about how she was on her rooftop hearing the tornado warning sirens going off. And she like this sense of panic, thinking that here I am on top of this rooftop, and all of a sudden there's going to be a tornado drop down in this area as well. So that is the kind of stress and pain that many of the residents here in this neighborhood have been dealing with today.
And I'm curious, Ed, as you've been just kind of floating around in this area, have you seen emergency personnel out there as well, hovering up above in helicopters? I know that there are some 3,000 people who the governor spoke of who are in standby with the National Guard, who are prepared to respond in this kind of an emergency. And we've heard of teams coming in from different states, these swiftwater rescue teams from California to New York to Virginia, who are all making their way there to Texas. But yet when we're looking around at these images, I don't see any emergency personnel. What are you seeing?
Well, it's really, we got to be really clear because we're in one isolated area, so it's hard to kind of sometimes give the entire big picture scene of what exactly is going on beyond our immediate area. But I can tell you that there have been a number of local authorities who have been kind of navigating and coordinating with a lot of the volunteers who've shown up with their boats. We've seen that. We've seen several Coast Guard helicopters flying overhead. I've seen some game wardens trying to handle traffic situations out on the roadway as well. So there have been a number of local authorities here on the ground trying to do as much as possible. But at this point, the demand and the calls for help have far exceeded anything that even all of the authorities combined have been able to keep up with. So that is why people like Austin Seth and the hundreds of other volunteers who've brought their own boats out here to try to help out have really been needed in this situation. So it's just an overwhelming amount of need here at this point for people trying to get out of harm's way and into drier and safer ground.
And does Austin have enough gas? I mean, I imagine there's such a panic, there's such a rush to get in there to help as soon as possible. And then you got to start thinking about longer term when you see the amount of water that's there and the forecast calling for perhaps a whole nother round that could bring twice as much water as already has been dumped. And I mean, it's hard to even imagine what that might look like.
Well, this neighborhood's already lost. The concern that you also hear from people, Anna, is that this water all has to move somewhere. So there are people who are downstream in other areas waiting for this.
Might get flooded that aren't
waiting
flooded
for them
because
just
of
hit
the
a
runoff from
mailbox.
the area.
And
That's
driving over this pickup truck.
stay
Sorry,
there.
the other neighborhoods that, as you mentioned, that rain will continue to fall. This neighborhood is already lost, but there are others who might not have completely flooded today, but are anticipating and we're very much worried that they could be next. So everyone really monitoring the radars, wondering just how much more rain is going to fall, and this rain can't end soon enough.
No doubt about it. Ed Lavendera reporting in Dickinson, Texas, in this neighborhood that has been completely inundated with flooding. Unbelievable images. Ed, great reporting. Thank you for sharing that with us, with our viewers, helping us to have a little bit of a sense of the devastation and the emergency that city, that state is under right now. I want to take everybody to downtown Houston. This, of course, is the nation's fourth largest city, almost completely underwater as well, forcing schools to close all week long. Our Rosa Flores has been there for us. Rosa, just 24 hours ago, you and I were talking about the rising water. It appeared to be just creeping up at that time, but now it's so high, there's literally nowhere for it to go.
You're absolutely right. And those locations where, excuse me, you and I were speaking yesterday, Anna, we can't even go there because they are completely submerged in water. But take a look around and you'll see, I mean, this is a major street intersection in downtown Houston, in the fourth largest city of the United States, and it is submerged in water. As you look at the distance, you can see that some vehicles are
Scary,
in water, and from what we understand, all the people that ended up with submerged vehicles in this area have been rescued. There's another vehicle here to my left. You can see through the trees. Again, the water is high, so it's difficult to show you here and keep at a safe distance. But that individual was rescued as well and is safe. And then this building to my left is the Harris County Criminal Courthouse, and between 5 and 10 people were rescued from this building earlier because the waters started rising inside the building. I talked to one gentleman who was inside, who was rescued by 4 first responders, who said that he had an injury separate, not related to this tropical storm or hurricane, but he wrapped his leg in a plastic bag. 4 first responders literally lifted him above the water to make sure that he was lifted to safety, and he said that the water rose so quickly that they had to be evacuated from a courthouse in downtown Houston. It's just difficult to fathom just how much water is here. Now, beyond those vehicles that you see in the distance, that's where Buffalo Bayou runs through, Anna. That's where we were to the left of those cars, but that's where we were talking to you yesterday. We can't go there anymore because the bayou is now a raging river headed towards the Gulf of Mexico. Now, here's the scary part of all of this. You see all of this rain that's still falling. Houston's still getting pummeled. We're getting ebbs and flows of these bands. Now, if you just speak about the geography in this area, all of this water has to flow out into the Gulf of Mexico. We were hearing these amazing, harrowing stories from CNN correspondent El Lavandera looking at that community. All of this water has to go in that direction. That's what's so devastating when you think about it, because all of those people that live in between Houston and the Gulf of Mexico, that's where this water empties out, and that's why there is so much worry about where this water is going to go and the timing of it. How long is it going to take? For so long as it's raining, it's not going anywhere.
And of course, Rosa, you think about the people who are in the most vulnerable positions, and we just got this statement from one of the big hospitals there in Houston. I quote, "Our life flight program is currently grounded given the winds that have been relentless. We are prepared, but what is needed is specialized vehicles for the high water. They are desperately needed." That's from the CEO of Texas Medical Center. So no way for some people to even get to that hospital. And I understand that another Texas hospital was forced to evacuate.
You're absolutely right. The Bentop Hospital was also evacuated because water started rushing into the basement of that hospital. They started evacuating critical patients first, and then evacuated other patients to areas in this community while they figure out a plan as to what to do with these patients. And the reason why is because of these waters. You see all of this water piled up behind me, and you really wonder, how long is it going to take? This hurricane now turned tropical storm really testing the infrastructure here in Houston, really testing the drainage, and really testing the decisions made here in Houston as we continue to get pummeled by rain. And like you mentioned, Anna, we're expecting more of it.
All right, we're going to get that forecast from Tom Sater in just a moment. Rosa Flores in Houston for us. Stay safe. Thank you, my friend. Now, the elderly are among the most vulnerable in this catastrophic flooding. Some in nursing homes can't physically move themselves. Take a look at your screen right now. This picture is not photoshopped. This was taken in an actual nursing home in Galveston County early today. The owner sent this picture to her family members begging for help, and around noon today, we've learned help arrived. The owner and the residents, about 24 people altogether, were rescued. The county commissioner says some were found up to their waists in water, and those you see in these pictures who were wheelchair bound, they were found up to their necks in water. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to talk with the owner's daughter about this desperate situation, so stay with us for that. But let's head over to the CNN Weather Center in Atlanta and CNN meteorologist Tom Sater. Tom, wow, what pictures, and I'm worried about those folks there, as I know you're looking at more rain in the forecast.
Believe it or not, Anna, we're not even close to the halfway point. We are watching unfold what will most likely be a 1 in 1,000 year event. It could be greater than that. The computer models hinting even last Wednesday the system would stall on us, and without a steering current, it's unfolding before our eyes. Many are wondering, why is it still a tropical storm? Hasn't it been on land long enough? Shouldn't this just be called the remnants of Harvey? Well, when they're over land, they really fire up. This water is fuel. But because Harvey's been moving 1 to 2 miles per hour, it's feeding off its own rainfall. It's called the brown ocean effect. It's just feeding on all the rain it has already dropped on the ground, so it gives its energy and it sustains its strength. We're now watching in the brighter colors of purple and red, the higher, colder cloud tops, the heavier rain starting to fan to the east now. That's going to add moisture to the ground and provide possible flooding in Louisiana. But the feeder bands in the last 24 hours continue just to pummel, of course, the Houston area. We had rainfall rates just last night at 4 to 6 inches per hour near Hobby Airport, south of Houston. 10 inches in an hour and a half. And we just had another band move through. You'll see it on the last couple of images as it moves through the area. Give it another couple hours, and I think you're going to get a little bit of a break. But we're looking at the system to regenerate as it makes its way again offshore. Now, the National Weather Service in Houston has been extremely busy handling tornado warnings. Right now, nothing. That's great news. There were a few just a little bit ago, Houston with quite a few of them. We had over 112 tornado warnings, not including 6 that had fired up. We still have the watch-in effect, and the flood emergency continues until 7:15. But here's what you've got to know. It slides off Monday afternoon back into the Gulf, still in a tropical storm. If it stays over water long enough, it could generate a little more strength. But then where does it go? National Hurricane Center's got it going to the north, leaving on Friday. If you look at all the computer models, which have been in great agreement, they agree. Let's pull it back off. The center could be very close to where landfall was made. That'll keep electrical crews from trying to restore electricity as the winds continue to be a little strong, at least tropical storm strength. And then where does it go? Most models, and we concur, most likely it'll be Houston, which will double the amount of rainfall that they've already picked up. So not only will the waters continue to rise in eastern Texas, they're going to be slow to go away. And then we watch them start to move toward Louisiana. So the computer models have really been on this system. It's just unfortunate that we're watching this event unfold. Look for more rainfall to come back into Victoria, back into Corpus Christi, but the heavier amounts continue to stay from Galveston up toward Houston, and then a 20 to 30-inch range will lift north of Houston. So our problem spot is now expanding, and that is going to be a big problem. Rivers continue to rise, rise, rise.
Oh my goodness. So Tom Sater, you talked about the tornado watches and warnings still in effect. We heard from Ed that he was talking to people who were on their rooftops hearing tornado warnings, tornado sirens. Obviously, people would normally go to lower ground, to the basements, but with the floodwaters, what do people do in a situation like this?
You know, that's a great, they tell you not to get into the attic. I mean, the possibility of getting a tornado if you're on top of your roof is slim, to say the least. I mean, the rescue workers are doing what they can to get you down, but they're not going to go up in a tornado warning either. So if you can get back down into at least some cover from flying debris, I mean, that's probably the best. Do not stay in that attic. They do not want you there. Once you think you're in the clear, obviously you want to get someone's attention and get back on top. But it would almost be safer to get back down and hunker down closer into some structure, maybe inside a doorway if you can, if it's not flooded. But again, those tornadoes are few and far between, although I know we've had 112 already since the storm made landfall. There will continue to be more. But I think most folks are going to, it'd be best for them just to get up and get the attention of anyone with the 911 calls, with just getting out there and waving towels, doing what they can to get the attention as they continue to survey the entire area. But the amount of rainfall that's going to double, the tornado threat should slide a little bit. As that rainfall total doubles, we'll have another threat, I think, in the next 24 to 48 hours when the next system starts to make a secondary landfall. And that'll be more toward the Houston area as well.
Tom Sater, you'll stay on top of it for us, we know. Thank you very much. And don't miss tonight at 7 Eastern, Texas Governor Greg Abbott will join us live, so stay tuned for that. Still ahead, we showed you the heartbreaking photo just a moment ago. Elderly residents at this Texas nursing home stranded and up to their waists or beyond in floodwaters. Details on how this picture went viral and eventually led to their dramatic rescue. Next, the owner's daughter will join us live.
Here, sit. Stay.
As King Midas, I expect things to last a long time. And so should you.
Midas has a lifetime guarantee on these parts.
That's right. On things like struts, brakes, shocks, all kinds of automobile parts. Guaranteed for life.
Does he turn everything to gold?
Brakes.
Not everything. Luckily, he's not a dog person.
At Midas, we're always a touch better, with limited lifetime guarantees on select parts, complimentary courtesy checks, and more. Book an appointment at Midas.com.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on? Oh, hey. That's it?
Yeah.
Everybody, 2 seconds.
Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we offer our congratulations on your acceptance.
Through the Tuition Assistance Program, every day McDonald's helps more people go to college. It's part of our commitment to being America's best first job.
This is what it's all about, Jamie. Helping small businesses. Damage a vehicle? We got you covered. Property damage? That's what general liability's for. What? Injured employee?
Oh.
Workers' comp helps you pay for a replacement.
What's happening?
This is Carla. I'm going. And if anything comes up, our experts are standing by. Go.
I'm Joy Bauer, and as a nutritionist, I know probiotics can often help. Try Digestive Advantage. It's tougher than your stomach's harsh environment, so it survives 100 times better than the leading probiotic.
Also in chocolate, probiotic bites.
At Holiday Inn Express, we can't guarantee that you'll be able to contain yourself at our breakfast.
Or an egg white omelet. Some lady bacon.
Fruit.
Yeah, those boats.
Such a shock for them too to wake up and realize what the heck happened.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I didn't think it'd be like that. And what if you weren't even home yet?
And we expect it to worsen in the coming days. The elderly, especially those who cannot move by themselves, are among the most vulnerable. And before the break, we showed you this unbelievable picture. This was taken in a nursing home in Galveston County early today. The residents there sitting up to their waists or even their chests in floodwaters. Now, we learned around noon today they were all rescued, but not before the owner snapped this photo, sent it to her daughter, desperate for help. And the owner's daughter, Kimberly McIntosh, is joining us live right now on the phone. Kimberly, I can only imagine what was going through your mind when you saw that picture.
Yeah, I almost couldn't believe it was real as well. And my mother sent it to me. I was just texting her thinking everything was fine. I had spoken with her the day before, and she said, you know, they were told to shelter in place, and, you know, I don't think anybody thought there would be a problem because they hadn't flooded before or anything. So when I texted her in the morning to check in, and she responded with those photos, I was totally shocked. And at that point, didn't really know what to do, so I asked her what I could do to help her, and she just said they were waiting on the National Guard, and if we could contact anybody to help them, then to do it. So, and then her phone went dead. I mean, I've no more texts, and so we were so upset, thinking that, you know, they were in imminent danger. So that's when we decided we were calling emergency management. We were, you know, deciding what to do, and that's when we decided to go ahead and tweet the photo, try to get as much attention, maybe find somebody who lived near them to get there with a boat.
I have to say, when we saw this picture on social media, a lot of us said, is this real? Because it looks fake. I mean, you just would never imagine seeing something like this.
No, I thought it was, I mean, it was from my mom, but I recognized the popcorn machine in the photo for sure, because she used that, and I was like, that is, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was of the same opinion when I saw it. But I knew she was desperate. But everyone there is her family. I mean, she spends more time with them than she does with her kids and grandkids. She loves everyone there, and I mean, she spent the last night with them.
It just seems funny that one's just knitting away. That one's just knitting away. She figures she can't go anywhere. Might as well just sit and knit.
And she has a disaster plan in place. I mean, she had it in place. I spoke with her days before. They told her to shelter in place. That's what they did.
I know a lot of people who are watching this right now are just relieved
That cat in the back.
Everybody
that
there
cat in the
made it
background.
out okay, that they were rescued. But take me behind the scenes and the emotion that you were feeling from hearing what was happening on the other end of the conversation with your mom. I mean, walk me through what that emotion was like, what they were doing prior to the rescuers getting there.
I mean, like I said, it was a quick text just to her in the morning, just what's up, just thinking everything she was going to tell me. Maybe the power was out or something like that. And then to get those pictures in response, and she was very brief in what she was saying, but that she needed help. And at that point, we just had to take it upon ourselves to try to do whatever to save them, because she said the water was rising. That was the last thing I heard. So my thought at that point was, they're going to be dead within hours. So at that point, we tried calling, emergency management. We tried everything. We were really grateful because the Galveston County Emergency Management office took our call, and we told them we couldn't call 911. We were in Tampa. We needed them to help, that they were in imminent danger, and they were very good. We were able to call them back then. We finally got through, and they gave us updates at that point. So we were very grateful to the National Guard and to the Galveston Office of Emergency Management for helping us out, because we were totally stressed out trying to make sure they got help, because there were reports on the Twitter that they had gotten help. We did not confirm that until, hours later.
Now, have you been in touch with your mom since they were rescued?
Just my stepfather. He texted me to let us know that he was in the back of the National Guard truck and they were fine. And I know there were a total of 15 residents, and 11 of them went to area hospitals, and everybody is okay. So that was our big relief. And once we knew that, then we felt 10 times, 100,000 times better. Helpless feeling being in Florida and not being able to help when we know that people were, people could easily die.
And just again to reiterate that we did speak with the local public information officer there for the Department of Emergency Management, who confirmed that all of those residents made it out and made it to a hospital in the Galveston area. Kimberly McIntosh, we know the worst is still yet to come for a lot of the folks in that region, and our prayers and thoughts are with you all, wishing you the best. Thank you for spending some time with us and for doing what you could to help to get those people help by putting it on social media. That is the bright spot, certainly, with social media being available. Thank you.
We're very grateful for all the help that we received and that everyone got out safely.
No doubt about it. Again, Kimberly, thanks. Now, FEMA says it is gearing up for a years-long effort to help Texas in the wake of the damage from Harvey. FEMA Administrator Brock Long says, while the immediate focus is still on rescuing people On the aftermath of this storm, the agency has pledged a long-term effort to help the state recover. Listen.
FEMA's going to be there for years, sir. This disaster recovery, this disaster is going to be a landmark event, and we're already in the stages. While we're focused on response right now and helping Texas, respond, we're already pushing forward recovery housing teams. We're already pushing forward forces to be on the ground to implement National Flood Insurance Program policies as well, and doing the inspections that we need. So we're setting up and gearing up for the next couple of years.
We've learned nearly 5,000 people from the federal government are on site in Texas and Louisiana as well right now, including the Coast Guard, which has been conducting hundreds of search and rescue operations. I want to head right out to our Brian Todd, who in fact is witnessing a rescue operation as we speak. Brian, walk us through what you're seeing and what's happening there.
Well, as you can see, some dogs have just been rescued here. We were told that some of these boats, these are private rescuers who went to the Omni Hotel, that building over there where people are stranded. We're told between 60 and 80 people there are stranded. They just pulled some of these people out. Come on over here, Brittany. This is Brittany Hayes. She was staying at the Omni Hotel. They just came and got you. What are the conditions like inside that hotel?
There's no power. It's flooded to the second floor. It took like this morning about probably 6 a.m. The hotel lobby started to fill up. They started bringing all the kitchen stuff up, brought to the second level, and that was about it. And that
Are they trying to get people to upper floors until they get rescued?
Yeah, upper floors, and there's no power. There's fumes in there because of the diesel from one of the generators was powered by diesel, and so the fumes from the diesel is fuming up, and so it smells awful.
Is there anyone injured? Anyone in bad shape?
No one's in bad shape. No one's injured. People are just come get us.
What's the sense in there as far as is the hotel staff kind of trying to calm people down?
The hotel staff is calming people down. They gave us as much water as they could. They're trying to keep us calm, but there's definitely people there.
Stay with me 1 second, Brittany. I'm going to narrate here as these guys have come in about every 10 or 15 minutes, and then they're going back over to the Omni to pull people out. I was told there's a neighborhood behind the Omni where people might also need some rescuing, but these are, again, private rescuers who are just deploying their own boats, and they're about to push off again, this group here, and they've just told us they've got a lot of work to do to try to pull people out of there. Brittany, you told me you're from LA. So what are your impressions of Houston?
I probably won't be back anytime soon. But everyone's so nice. That's what's refreshing. Like, it's just people who care and like they're coming to help, and it's like they're like, you're gonna be okay. So
now, again with the hotel, have they told you that they're gonna try to put you guys somewhere else?
Take us to the other Omni, I guess, so that has power. So power and everything. So that's where they're taking us now.
And again, I think I started to ask you this, and we just wanted to kind of get the shot of these guys going out again. The sense inside the hotel, are people panicking, or is the hotel kind of calming people down?
I mean, the hotel staff, they're awesome. They're trying to calm us down. But I mean, it's horrible in there. It's scary. It's like no one should stay the night there. No one should. Everyone needs to be out of there for sure.
Brittany, good luck in the rest of your trip. Good luck at the new hotel where you're going to be staying. Thanks for talking to us. All right, well, you can see from her explanation here that there's some people there that need to be pulled out. We're going to kind of stay here. We may try to get over there with some of these rescuers in a boat to see what the conditions are in there. We asked them earlier. They said they couldn't take us. They've got to obviously save space for some people. So we may just talk to people as they're coming off the boats. Back to you guys.
Wow, hard to believe that a hotel, we know those are usually so tall that they have to be evacuated as well. Brian Todd, great work, and do keep us posted on what you're hearing on the ground there from the folks who are affected. We appreciate it. And worth noting, we just got a note from officials in Galveston County, and to Brian and Ed's point that we're witnessing these volunteers coming with their own boats, helping out with these rescues. Emergency officials actually put out the call again on social media to ask people if they had boats and were able to come with their boats with some gas and try to aid in the rescue operations. They were encouraged to do so, and so far we're told 25 to 35 private boat owners in fact showed up to assist officials. That's just in Galveston County. Some more images, and you can see how deep the floodwaters are in Houston. And Tom Sater, our meteorologist, saying they're not even halfway through this flood event yet. Much more rain is expected. We're going to stay on top of this. Up next, the latest on Houston's airports and how flooding is impacting both inbound and outbound flights. Stay with us live in the CNN Newsroom. We're back after this.
Almost done with my puzzle. Go to Texas on the trip, Joe?
Nope.
For some adventure? Cheap flight for you.
Couldn't even get in there.
No, there are thousands of rescuers who have arrived and are assisting in some of these water rescues. and a lot of volunteers on scene, as we've seen in Brian Todd as well as Lavanderas. But again, this one in particular, we've learned, is a Coast Guard crew rescuing what appears to be a mother and her young son. Now, the airports, in terms of travel, they're not doing any better. Bush Intercontinental is currently at a ground stop, while Hobby Airport is closed until at least Wednesday. Officials say the runways there at Hobby are unusable because of the standing waters, and there will be no flights allowed in or out. Now, even if there were flights taking off today, it would probably be impossible just to get to the airport. A Texas official says every single freeway in Houston is underwater at some section. Interstate 10 and 45 in Houston are completely flooded. In fact, this is a tractor trailer sitting abandoned, almost completely submerged, and that was from earlier today. The water is still rising. At some places, street signs are completely covered. In some cases, cars are
Walking Dead right there.
entirely submerged. CNN's Polo Sandoval is in southwest Houston. And Polo, how serious is the situation where you are?
Well, you know, Anna, my colleague Eddie Lavandera took you into a neighborhood in Houston. Rosa Flores showed you downtown Houston. Let me show you now the highways leading into Houston, at least I-69. I'm actually standing on the access road itself here, and you can see much of it submerged. We have seen people try to make their way through here, but turn around and head the other direction. Only a large pickup truck and a fire truck have been able to make their way through here. The issue here is much of the interstate, at least this one in the city's southwest side, is open. We are seeing people driving on the highway, but if you want to get off that highway, you can kind of make out that on-ramp or the off-ramp off in the distance. It leads you directly into what looks like a lake. That is going to be an issue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hours, especially because of these bayous. The water that you see behind me, it appears to be spilling out of one of the bayous in the city.
That makes sense why you'd want it.
That is making getting around
I like it.
difficult. And that includes first responders. I want to
Yeah, you gotta do that other one you just bought.
Today, speaking of some of those Coast Guard rescues they mentioned a little while ago, there were Coast Guard officials that were rescuing from what appeared to be an individual here in the city southwest side, using that helicopter, having to drop that basket and then be able to pluck that individual essentially from a neighborhood and then fly him out of the area. That's something that we've seen before. We've seen quite a bit, and we expect to see even more of in the coming days. Of course, that recommendation continues, folks, to try to avoid these kinds of spots right here because it can lead to trouble. That video you showed a little while ago of the big rig, that's just down the high road from where we are. So again, that's what we see now. Will it get worse? Officials think it will. Anna?
And Paul, a lot of people have asked, why weren't people evacuated ahead of this? They knew the rain was coming. We heard from the mayor earlier saying to ask people to evacuate could have made for an even greater nightmare situation, as he put it. So, Polo, thank you for that reporting and for giving us a look at the highways and the interstates nearby. Up next, the devastation in Rockport. Our Martin Savage is there. They really took the brunt of the hurricane when it made landfall. Plus, we'll hear from a swiftwater rescue team about how they are going out saving people from these floodwaters. Stay with us. You're live in the CNN Newsroom.
The average family's
Sure. No, it's not on yet. Commercials. Commercials. Oh, I did that. Yeah, I did that.